Congressman LaMalfa, thank you so much for joining us. The results are in. There's a lot at stake here, especially for you in your district. Can you give us your initial reactions to tonight?
Well, we're in California, aren't we? See, no, you just saw the map there, the Northern California districts. All those counties I've represented at one time or another in different iterations, and they all voted red. They all rejected this because they know they're going to be on the line, that their voice is going to be basically silenced on their rural issues, on their issues of timber management and farming and ranching and water supply and the other things that come from the land. They're now going to be subject to the type of thinking that comes from Marin County and that kind of representation. If this holds, I mean, obviously we're not done with the votes here tonight, and I'm sure the gap's going to narrow, but it looks like that's where we are.
What is your message to your constituents tonight, knowing the results now?
Hang in there, because we're in the fight, and I guess the angle on the treadmill is going to be a little bit steeper in order to run for election here, but we shouldn't run away from this just because they've rigged this election. They've cheated from what the rules used to be, including all the hijinks they did in the legislature to put this together at the last minute. They had to waive a lot of rules to do it. And I still doubt if it's even constitutional. So there's going to be legal tests against this because of equal representation, of one man, one vote. The census is, these districts aren't even accurate at all as far as the census would be. So, they keep the census numbers for 10 years for a reason. Then you have the whole concept that the commissioners that drew the lines aren't allowed to run for office for 10 years for the entire time that they drew the maps for, because they don't want a conflict of interest. You saw how these lines are drawn. They were for the interests of legislators, termed out legislators, to have a place to land. So there's a lot of big problems with this. And I'm just proud of our people, north of Sacramento, that turned out so strongly and put all red on the map up there and voting against this preposterous power grab that has happened.
Do want to ask your thoughts about this race being called in 3 minutes of the polls closing, right? Talk to me about your thoughts with that, because I know especially a lot of conservative voters like to vote on election day, right? And sometimes those results don't come in until later. Sometimes people call it the blue mirage, if you will. Give us your initial take on the fact that this race was called so fast.
Well, we know the news wants to make the call and make the news, right? And so if they believe that their projections they can sustain that, then it is what it is. But it is a little disappointing, I guess, to people when I say, well, can't we see all the results? But I suppose if it's projected that it's a really wide margin, they're going to do what they do on the newscast. So I'm not going to put a lot of worry into that. It's just a matter of all the votes will be counted. I'm sure of that. And we'll find out that it looks like 65 now. There's a lot. I know people that were voting against it that dropped it in the mail yesterday, and people carrying their ballots in. There's some people want to do it in person, like the old days. So those will come through. So maybe the gap narrows to 58 to 42 or something like that. It's kind of a moot point really on that. To me.
I have to ask you, the president today, I think on Truth Social, talked about California and the elections process, saying that there should be even a criminal investigation, he suggested. Talk to me about your reaction when you see the president suggesting that there's perhaps something nefarious about the vote before it was in.
I think my focus would be, is it constitutional to begin with? Because they had to hurry to put this on the ballot. They waived laws, they waived rules. The legislators, by constitution, the voters affirmed 3 different times that they do not want legislators making their own maps. The last time the legislature did do it was back in 2001, and they came up with what's jokingly called the Incumbent Protection Plan. You look at the horrific lines they drew this time, the maps they drew this time, they divide up communities of interest. So I think the case to be made here really is, did they draw them equitably? Did they follow properly the laws that are already in place on how you set up elections, how you set up districts? And a really strong case can be made that they did not, that they hurried this, and that it's not going to be equal representation, equal opportunity for the voters and candidates, and that this could actually be held up. So, it's hard to tell what a court might do, but it will be heard.
Do you feel frustrated by your party in how you perceived how they might have supported you in your district during this special election?
I'm sorry that the audio didn't come quite through. How was that?
Are you frustrated by your party in regards to how you perceive how they've supported you or not during this special election?
I think the party effort was what it could be in this situation here. I mean, nothing ever is run perfectly, but I think a lot of people worked really hard. We had a lot of donors come out of the woodwork to try and help fund this. But as you see, the Democrat Party is able to really put their hands on many hundreds of millions of dollars from giant donors, from billionaires, from oligarchs, and all sorts of other areas that it's a little more uphill for Republicans in this state to do that battle on a money front. So our message was one that was a little more difficult to deliver because all the Democrats have to say is Donald Trump, and that's going to get a percentage of voters wound up in this state. Our side, we were making more nuanced arguments that we have to protect the Constitution. We have to protect what the voters' voice is on this. We have to protect areas that, the communities of interest, as I mentioned here, that people should have to be able, more like-minded folks represent their area instead of having such a cross-section within a district. A district is a subset of an entire state. A district should have a voice. That's what, that way you have an argument. You have a debate. They release wolves into my district that are devouring the wildlife and the ranchers' livestock up in my area. And at least me as a representative, I can go into a committee, I can go into a situation and have a counterpoint to those folks from the urban areas that think, oh, these wolves are wonderful. We don't care that they're eating up people's cattle and that they take the water supply away and ship it all out to the Pacific Ocean through the Delta, and farmers run out of water and so many other things, high cost of fuel. Others think, well, hey, it's great to convert everything to electric cars. We don't think that up there. So when the Bay Area legislators are going to be representing District 1 and District 2, their voice is going to be pretty much drowned out by those ones that are going to continue to Bay Area type thinking.
Congressman Doug LaMalfa, thank you so much for joining us.